Good afternoon, sir. How the heck are you?
Hey, guys. I'm well. How are you all?
We are doing good. Tampa really good at home, so you dropping 2 of 3, no real cause for alarm, right? But where does the team have to be better to give yourself a chance to compete against those guys? What'd you learn after 3 games?
Oh, well, I mean, I think that Tampa they're a great team. Their record speaks for itself, and we knew it was going to be a challenge going in there and facing the pitchers we faced. And so, I think just overall playing, just consistently clean baseball. And I'm not sure there's much we would change or do differently. Tampa just came out ahead in 2 of the 3 games. And I think if we played them another series, we could easily come out ahead just the same. So I think that just continue to play good, clean baseball. If we take care of our business, we pitch well, we field the ball, and we continue to produce offensively. I think I like where this team is and where we can go, but just doing it consistently is the key.
What do you think of Martin Perez to this point in the season? Had a career year last year, but the whip and the ERA up a little bit. He's had some fantastic outings. Certainly yesterday, not one that I'm sure he wanted.
Yeah, Martin's been good. I think that certainly not to the level he was at last year, but he also had what could be considered a career year last year, and we knew that. We recognized it, but Martin has done very, very well. I think there have been a couple games where he's had some blow-ups and, given up 7 runs in a few games this year, which may inflate the numbers, but he's also had a number of games where he's pitched really, really well, and we've won the game because of it. So yesterday was a really tough lineup for him. Just Tampa crushes left-handed pitchers. We knew that going in. We had 2 of the 3 starters that we pitched against Tampa this series were lefties with Heaney and Perez. So we knew that it was going to be a tough day for Martin. We hoped that he could just keep it close, and really in the last inning, the 4th inning, it got away from us there. But even with that, we had a chance to come back and win in the 9th, or at least tie it with a tying run at the plate. So the guys kept fighting, and that's the part of the baseball season. It's why you play 162. But Martin will bounce back. He's a professional, and he'll continue to be someone we lean on, and will give us some great outings here ahead.
So with career years, there's no reason to believe that he can't get back to that form, in this year at some point.
Yeah, there's no doubt. His stuff is still really, really good. He's doing a lot of the same things that made him successful last year. He's had a couple games where maybe his command wasn't quite as sharp, or he did get some borderline calls, or we didn't play great defense, or just sometimes it didn't go your way. And so I think to start the game in Tampa the other day, I think he gave up 4 consecutive hits, and really none of them were hit overly hard, just kind of hit to the right spot. And that's the luck of baseball at times. So the stuff is still there. The person, the focus, the commitment, the work ethic, all those things that you look for. And we know he'll get on a roll at some point this season. And but just one bad outing doesn't define a season by any means.
I mean, he's been around this organization for so long. We love him, and we're hoping for the best for Martin. But let me ask you this. A week removed from the deGrom injury and a week closer to the deadline, do you feel like adding a starter is of importance or a priority?
Well, I'll say the standard line I gave all offseason, which is you can never have enough pitching, and specifically starting pitching. So we'll stay open-minded. We'll continue to assess the needs of the organization as we go. But, starting pitching is certainly something that every team should be looking for, and I don't think we're any different.
So we were having a discussion earlier, and it's, do you have enough starting pitching to win playoff series? And it sounds like you would answer that right now with a yes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not looking that far ahead right now. I'm looking at winning. We got to get to the playoffs, and we're off to a great start. But as time goes here and we continue to play good baseball, we'll see what the specific needs are. Is it back-end starting pitching? Is it front-end starting pitching? Is it back-end relief pitching? Is it middle relief pitching? There's just a number of ways that you can go here, and some of that just takes time to fully flesh out and determine which direction we go. But nonetheless, I love our group. I love the way that our guys have played, and I'm confident in the group we have.
Best GM in the Metroplex with us, Chris Young, here on your home of the Rangers, 105.3 The Fan. I do want to follow up on Jacob deGrom. Do you have an update on the surgery? And again, just how you guys went about letting the team know and your emotions when getting that news. I know the fan base, obviously, we were all bummed.
Yeah, I'll start with the second question first. It was a tough week last week. I think I saw you guys on Monday, and we knew at that point Jacob was going to go on the 60-day. That we probably we needed to get more information. He was going to undergo another MRI, and I think we got the results of that last Monday night, if I'm not mistaken. And at that point, saw a tear and structural damage to the ligament, and knew that it was going to require surgery. So it was a tough week for the organization. Most importantly, it was a tough week for Jacob and his family. I know that he had such high expectations coming here, was so excited to be a part of this and the start that the team is off to, and then hated to miss time. There were some periods where we felt like he was making progress with the rehab, and then some days where we felt like, this isn't necessarily going forward at the pace we would like. And so, I think first and foremost, caring about Jacob and his emotions and his mental status was of the utmost importance to us. And, once Jacob made the final decision, and it's his decision to have surgery, we supported that. We agreed with the decision, and now trying to provide every manner of support that we can and rehab to get him healthy and ready to come back and help us in the future. But, from the fan base, I know everyone's disappointed, and certainly we are as well. But Jacob is he's going to be back. He'll recover from this. He did have surgery today. The surgery went according to plan. Dr. Meister called me and said that he was able to repair the ligament, and expects Jacob to make a full recovery. And so we'll start taking it one day at a time with the rehab, and at some point we'll have him back.
CY, I know you're working on your team, your current roster of what you got, going forward here against the Angels tonight, but I know you have an eye on the draft coming up as well. And if I could ask you a philosophy question, not who you're going to take or anything like that,
yeah.
But if you had the first overall pick, is there a big difference between, and again, not asking about the player, but the position? Is there a philosophy difference between a position player, and say a starting pitcher? With LSU's situation, again, that's my team. With Cruz and Skeen, and is it one of those things where you're like, listen, more position players make it taken that high than starting pitcher, or is that something that's not a true when you're evaluating where players to take at the top of that board?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think philosophically for me, it's the best player. It's who is the best player available. Who do you believe is going to be the best major league player and impact your franchise the most? And it can be a position player, it can also be a pitcher, and that's kind of the way we've approached it the last the 3 years that I've been here. And so I'm excited for this year's draft, and certainly LSU has two tremendous talents, and it's really hard to tell. I think that each one of those could be generational type talents. They're both really, really good, and there are a few others in the draft that are also in that category. And so it really just, the needs of the organization, you need both. You need good pitchers and you need really good position players. And so, I think that for me, it's just really selecting who you feel like is going to be the best major league player in time, independent of needs. There's a lot of things that change before these guys make it to the major leagues. And, certainly these college players now come a little bit quicker, but I think just given how talented they each are, I don't think you can go wrong with any of these at the top of the draft.
And if I could follow up with Skeen, him coming from the Air Force Academy and then down to Baton Rouge, developed, with a pro pitching coach down there at LSU. Do you look at stuff like that where these players play, like where they do have guys, the coaches that the guy, he's got some pro experience, or does that kind of stuff make a difference when you're evaluating these players?
Well, it's all part of the puzzle. You try to get as much information and take in as much information as possible to make the best decision for the organization. And information like that does matter. It does factor in. To what degree, I can't specifically say, but it is part of the equation. And it's not specific to just the draft. It's with, pro acquisition. It's understanding what certain organizations or certain teams or college programs do well, what they don't do well, what access to coaching players have had or have not had. and then making, good predictions based on that information to determine how good the player can be. What is his upside? Can he continue to improve? Is he just now, reaching his peak, or is he, going to reach that in 5 more years? And those are the predictions that we're trying to make, but it's an inexact science, and you just try to take as many aspects of the decision and all the information you can to make the best decision possible.
We saw John Gray is going to be scratched for tomorrow's start with a blister. How long do you think he might be out?
Our expectation is just a turn. If he was dealing with this a little bit in his last outing, and we just felt like the prudent thing to do is to push him back, make sure we need him 100% healthy, and we don't want this thing to materialize into something bigger than it is. So we're going to push him back, skip a turn, and he should be back by his next outing.
Okay, CY, as a former pitcher, what's best for a blister? Does pickle juice really work? Is that an old wives' tale right there?
Oh, I don't know. I've heard it all. There's something called rodeo ointment, which I've heard works. Zinc, pickle juice. I've heard it all, and I'm not sure which of it does. I think the best ingredient, or the best way to heal these things is just time. And so I think time and just taking some of that friction off. So that's what we're doing with John. And but if you or your listeners have any suggestions, we're open.
Well, CY, I also, as a former pitcher, and we got the College World Series going on, as Brian was talking about the draft, Quinn Matthews of Stanford goes and throws 156 bleeping pitches yesterday. One, I just want to know your thoughts on that, but is that, malpractice? Should we not have a kid out there throwing 156 pitches?
Well, it's a lot of pitches. I'll leave it at that. So, they're playing to win, and obviously he was able to do it, but it's a lot of pitches, and I don't think you'll see that many pitches from any Texas Ranger this year.
In your heyday, though, you were breaking 156,
160, I assume.
No. I think my career high was 129, and that was with Boch as my manager, and I think it was actually against the Rangers, if I'm not mistaken. It was a game that the year after I'd been traded, came back and pitched here in Arlington, and was doing okay. I think I was in line for a win, and third baseman made an error with 2 outs that prolonged. Boch wanted to leave me out there so badly, but I had reached 129 pitches, and he had to come get me at that point.
Well, we learned last week that hatred about that trade or moving.
You wanted revenge, didn't you?
You were going to throw 169 pitches that day if you had to, right?
That's right. Whatever it took, right? Exactly.
Well, CY, we love you, and best of luck here with these 4 games against the Angels. Give them hell. We'll be pulling for you.
Guys, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and I'll talk to you next week.